Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. It's great to have you all with us, and we're really pleased, Sean and I are really pleased to be part of this conversation with Turnkey. And the topic of today's discussion is going to be how to avoid year-end panic. And, you know, for a lot of you who may be joining us today, perhaps are familiar with KwikTag and our family of KwikTag products as, you know, the AP automation folks. And certainly those things are important come year-end and come audit time. However, we're going to take a look today at a number of other areas that also might come to play in terms of being bottlenecks or very, you know, paper-intensive processes that can also present a problem for year-end. So my name is Mary Miller. I'm the Director of Marketing for KwikTag, and I am joined today by my colleague Sean Fitzgerald, who's a Senior Account Manager here at KwikTag. And we're both really glad that you guys have chosen to spend part of your day with us today. And we're going to share with you a little bit about the, you know, just a couple brief background points about the company, and then we're going to dive right into some of these areas, what we're calling 5 key business areas that really come into play come year-end and audit time. So just a little bit about who we are, in case you're not familiar. We were founded in 1997, which incidentally the same age as the kid of mine that I have away at college, and Sean has one that age as well. So, you know, certainly if our company were a child, it would be of adult age now and going on for continuing education. And the really cool thing about that is that it's gained 9 U.S. patents over the course of its life, if you will, up to this point. And you know, just a few years ago when Sean joined, there were 6, and about a year and a half ago when I joined, there were 8. So the point there is that we continue to do new things. We continue to innovate with our products, and what our products do at their core are really document management, document imaging, and those are the things that we got our roots in and started with, you know, 19 years ago. And then we were the first ones to integrate into the Microsoft Dynamics suite, which actually speaks very tightly with our relationship with Turnkey as they look to take, you know, GP to the market, as many of you might also be Dynamics GP users. So we integrate directly with Dynamics GP as well as the other flavors of ERP systems from Microsoft. You know, and then after about 10, 12 years of perfecting, if you will, the document management and document capture tools and services and platform that we took to market, we had a number of customers come to us and say, well, this is great that we get rid of all of our paper, but now we need to find a way to really automate those business processes and add, you know, workflow and approvals and audit trails and all of those kinds of things into the mix. And so we added workflow and process automation in the early 2000s, about 2004 actually. And over the time that we've been doing that, we now have more than 120,000 business users around the world that really speak to the adoption in the market, but also to the testament of taking the platform from one area of the business to the other as they learn that, you know, there's a lot of different departments that are affected by this, not only at year end, but throughout the year as well. And bottom note there, the 98% of them keep coming back. And most often they tell their friends too, because they find that, you know, like-minded individuals in their industry and related industries can also benefit from this digital transformation, moving from paper to digital, as well as the process automation that KwikTag allows them to take advantage of. And we have here a quick, you know, snapshot, I like to think of it as, if we had pictures on our wall of all of our closest friends and family members, this would be the KwikTag family snapshot. And as you can see, there's, you know, companies that represent all different shapes and sizes and industries of companies, everything from professional sports to electronic games. Coming this time of year, there's a lot of that going on in my household. I don't know about yours, but gaming is certainly a big thing for my teenagers. And so, you know, we represent all of these different markets. But one of the things that we find that they all have in common, maybe you can relate, is they all have to deal with paper. In one area of their business or another, they all have to deal with paper, and their goal is to get rid of it. Their goal is to minimize the number of pages that they have to print or the number of folders they have to run around the office from one part of the building to the next, or even to another building. So one of the things that we really, you know, help people understand is that in order to solve the paper problem, first we have to capture the documents, and then the next logical transformation is to integrate that into the systems that they work with most frequently, especially from a financial standpoint, very likely Dynamics GP, and then we automate that process. So we help them capture, integrate, and automate the document management platform and workflow automation for any business process, which is why we're going to look a little bit outside of AP today at some of the areas that are also affected by year-end close and financial prep. And before we get too far into that, we actually have our first poll. So Kayla, if you wouldn't mind publishing the poll here, those of you who are looking at your screen can get a sneak preview of what the question is. And you're about to then receive a view on your screen of a poll question that says, what areas of your business that you deal with are the most challenging at year end? And you can select all that apply. And the options you can see here are accounting, human resources, customer orders and fulfillment, legal contracts or other vendor contracts, or project cost tracking. These are some areas that we see as very common that sort of haunt people or, create that year-end panic. And certainly we understand that many of those areas of the business feed into accounting in one way or another. So go ahead and select the audience participation part. Go ahead and select the areas of your business that are the greatest challenge as you prepare for year-end. Okay, Kayla, let's take a look at the results and see what our friends have to say about what areas of the business they find to be challenging. Not surprising. Accounting comes up at the top of the list. And then it looks like human resources might be next, and then perhaps project cost tracking. So, okay, let's head back to the slides, and we can hide the poll for now. And the interesting thing about that is that every single one of those areas is going to, at some point, feed into accounting. And the interesting thing about those other areas of the business is that 70%, the numbers that you're looking at on your screen right now, 70% represents the number of businesses that would fail within 3 weeks if they were affected by a damage, a flood, a fire, something like that. 30% is the amount of time that most professionals in typically accounting and human resources, but even other areas of the business, spend looking for manual documents. And 22% is the rate at which paper grows year over year. So the volume of paper in your business, unfortunately, friends, it's not getting smaller. It's only going to continue to grow. And that $125 in the lower right-hand corner of this woman, who we can all probably relate to a little bit, of the paper piling up around her, that $125 represents the cost to replace every one of those documents, the cost to find every one of those documents. If it actually has to be reproduced from the beginning, that number goes up to somewhere between $350 and $400 a document. So what that says to us is we seriously have a paper problem. And it's really a challenge for what we're going to do with it in order to manage it and really prepare for year end. And so let's take a look at the 5 key business areas that really haunt accounting, or that can really present a problem and create that panic throughout the year as well as at year end, because it all comes to a head when finance has to rush around the building and pull together all of this information. And hopefully they're not sorting through that pile of papers that we just looked at together. So the areas are human resources and payroll and vendor contracts, sales orders and fulfillment, and then finally, of course, accounting, and hopefully it all integrates into the ERP system. So let's take a look at what each of those mean. And as you think about this, as we chat about this today, certainly enter your questions in the chat window or the questions tab, and we'll make as much time as we can at the end to address them. But even if we don't get, if you don't think of a question for today, think about how this applies in your business, okay? Human resources, from a hiring standpoint, I have, we jokingly call it the 12-step hiring program, and, we all can relate to the fact that there's a problem here. Well, what is the problem? The problem is that when we go to hire somebody today, we can't just think about the fact that we want to bring a new person on board, or maybe that we've gotten budget approval for it. We have, in many cases, the new hire requisition, the job description that's got to be approved, the compensation package and benefits, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not going to read them all to you. Of course, you can do that part for yourself. The challenge is what happens to these documents. We have a customer, for example, that we were just on site with not that long ago, and they have 2 entirely full offices, floor to ceiling, lined such that you can barely get down the rows between them, of file cabinets, floor to ceiling, nothing but human resources documents. because you have to keep them. And if you're growing, then you have to be able to bring people on board relatively quickly so that it doesn't become a huge time suck for those people that are managing that process and managing these documents. So as you bring new people on board, the hiring process and managing those documents are going to at some point catch up with accounting at the end of the year, because we need to know how many people did we hire, how many people did we transition, how many people did we, increase or change their salary for. Did everybody complete the interview process appropriately? If we got audited, would we be able to provide the documentation for each one of these steps? So the hiring process just in and of itself can be exhausting. And this is only the beginning of the documentation, because what comes next? Well, what comes next is onboarding and payroll and employee file management. Friends, what we find is that most of the companies that we work with have somewhere between 30 and 35 forms for every single employee that they have. So, you kind of get through the hiring process. Okay, great, we hired someone. Phew, move on. Well, no, that's just the beginning, right? Then we have to make sure they fill out all of their personnel forms and payroll and tax and where are we going to manage that, and training and compliance and specialty accounts and confidentiality agreements and all of that sort of stuff. And now you've got this 20-step onboarding process once you got through the 12-step hiring process. So the management of all of those files have to reconcile with payroll and human resources at the end of every pay period, at the end of every month, and certainly at the end of every year when it comes time to manage those things and bring them into accounting. And then it's a matter of, how am I going to find them when I need to? And that's one of the things actually Sean is going to demonstrate for us when we continue this conversation and look at how all of this comes to play within KwikTag. And you can have a view of all of these different areas of your business from a single source. And friends, that makes your end a lot easier and really reduces the panic. And we're going to take a look at how that could be a reality in your organization here in just a few minutes. Another area that we hear from people, now this wasn't a real common one in the poll a moment ago, but that doesn't mean that your legal team or others in your corporate team aren't affected by this. And this is one of those things that goes back to the, friends talk to each other and go down the hall and say, hey, we're using this system to do, this and this and this in accounting and human resources and hiring. You guys have lots of paper over here in legal, right? So you can see how those sorts of things kind of spread throughout the organization to truly be able to leverage the same system across multiple different departments. So what does that look like from a, from a contract management standpoint? And maybe as you think about things in accounting, you think, we often have to have subcontractor paperwork, and we have to have every time we bring somebody, new on board to work on a project, and, every time they deliver something to the customer or a partner or a vendor, we need to be able to track that. So maybe it's not so far-reaching that, some of these legal documents or contracts are, part of the process that affect you or that maybe touch your desk, or a part of the process that you look at on a daily basis as well. We talk to customers on a regular basis. We've got, for example, a customer that has real estate development and building management, and as they build new projects, new developments, they need to have a whole new set of documentation along with the accounting and the paperwork and the legal. And then the project manager assigned to that is remote. So the minute you add remote or another office, or whether it's across the building, across the street, or across town, or across the country, the minute you add another location into the mix of getting a document from one place to the next, you've added a layer of complexity. And friends, let's face it, it's sometimes going to happen where they get lost. And remember, we talked about every lost document, costs $125 and $350 if it needs to be replaced. So those things add up. Now, why do I keep going back to the what does it cost and what's happening behind the scenes? Well, because at the end of the day, if your organization decides that it's time for you to go digital, whether for these reasons that we're talking about or maybe something else, you're probably going to have to put together that business case. You're going to have to justify it. You're going to have to look, what are we doing today that's presenting a problem, and how could we do it differently or better in order for us to really improve that process? So keep those things in mind as we're continuing this conversation as well. So vendor contracts certainly catch up with us. Sales orders and fulfillment. I don't know about you, but customers tend to make business go better when you've got customers and people that are willing to buy your product and service. And of course, I'm joking about that. We all have We all have customers, and hopefully we have really good relationships with them. The challenge with sales orders and fulfillment is that the minute those are documents, physical documents that could potentially be lost, now you just don't have an internal, battle of running down the hall or finding something in a file cabinet. You have unhappy customers. You've got delayed time to revenue. You've got people that are, screwing around internally and trying to put out fires, and nobody can find the customer order, and the fulfillment notification got lost in production, and nobody can tell if it's done. There's no visibility. The customer doesn't know what's going on. The salesperson doesn't know what's going on, so they look at production, and production doesn't have the documentation that they need. You get it, right? The whole value of having all of your documents in one place and in a way that you can easily find them and display them and track them and audit them is invaluable in that situation, right? You're accelerating your time to revenue. So let's take a look at our friend here who's piled up in paper again, and what does that mean from a sales standpoint? Well, when sales orders are processed manually and you have no visibility into them, you're decreasing productivity by about 80%. So that productivity is just within the internal process. What does that mean for when your company is going to be able to collect that revenue, right? The customer satisfaction scenario here is really about time to revenue. So we certainly want to do everything we can to accelerate that. And then, of course, we talked about all roads lead to accounting. And at this time of the year, I don't know about you, but accounting and finance are probably the ones that feel the greatest amount of pressure, certainly within organizations that I've worked with in the past and companies that we have as customers of KwikTag today. This is the area that feels the greatest pressure. And if you're in one of those roles, you're looking at having visibility into all of those other areas of the business, the human resources and hiring and payroll and sales orders and contracts, and do all of those documents live in a place and in such a way that you can find them to prove that you've paid and received what you should have to and from each of one of them? Do you have all those supporting documentations? Do you have the the purchase orders and the packing slips and change orders and anything that might have been related to that order? And then do you have the check batch ability to see what invoices were included in each of those? It's really cool. Sean's got a part of the demo that he's going to share with you that makes this, 2 clicks in 30 seconds instead of, weeks and months of preparation. I hope I'm not stealing your thunder, Sean, but I know you're going to back the socks off. And then when you get to the point of being able to see everything in one system, whether you need to access that information from within your ERP system or from an independent system, because let's face it, not everybody is in the accounting system. Not everybody lives in GP on a daily basis. Some of them are in other departments, and so they need to have visibility and a 360-degree view into any document that affects their part of the world today. So the financial statements and year-end reports, of course, need to be visible and accessible and reproducible when audit time comes. So here's our friend who's piled up with paper again, and what does it mean to her to have visibility or to her colleagues to have visibility into these areas? And one of the greatest areas of automation within the accounting world is certainly when it comes to processing invoices. And again, many of you may know that we do the invoice automation and AP automation. And again, when you're thinking about that business case and the cost justification, the average cost per invoice when processed manually is $40.70 each. So, again, that adds up very quickly. Add to that the delayed sales orders and customer time. Add to that the running around the building or across the hall or across town or whatever to find things, to get documentation approved, find the supporting information, and all of that. It can add up very quickly. So if you can relate to that, you may want to consider the ability to have everything accessible and visible and auditable within the same system. And so now, before we jump into the demo that Sean's going to share with us, Kayla, if we could pull up the next poll, we just want to get a quick pulse. Again, for those of you who looked away from your computer potentially for a second, this is another part of the audience participation. So if they could direct your attention back to your screen and just take a second and think about, what challenges your business faces as it relates to document management. What makes you think that this is an important time or an important project that you need to take on as a priority? The options here are too much paper. Do you feel like that woman who's buried in the pile of paper? Are your teams just very inefficient, can't seem to get anything done, and then as soon as you do think you get one step forward, you take 3 steps back, and that kind of thing. Are payments delayed? Is it really tough to close the books on time, whether that's monthly or quarterly or certainly, again, at year end? What are those challenges? Do you have lack of visibility into processes? Do you have multiple locations? Are you growing really fast? Can you not find things when you need to? And do remote project managers or other department managers or maybe sales managers or people who travel, need to be able to review and approve things, and they don't have access to those things as they need to? So which of these challenges do you face as you think about document management? What are the drivers in your organization? Go ahead and click the boxes there, and Kayla, let's take a look at the results. Okay, so we've got too much paper. We've got remote project managers. Looks like team inefficiencies and lack of visibility. So a little bit of everything there, and that's actually not surprising to us either, because those are some of the top reasons that we hear from our customers all the time. And again, as you think about the way to tackle this isn't boiling the ocean, right? The way to tackle these projects is to get good at one of them and learn how you can become more efficient there, and then go down the hall or across the hall and kind of spread the word within the organization. And sometimes it's easier than you think to get other people to understand your pain and help them achieve the same kind of digital transformation that you're starting to take on. Thanks, Kayla. We'll go back to the slides now. Thanks everybody for your participation there. So just a little bit about where KwikTag fits in this problem and how we can sort of help take away that paper pain. And that's, again, to think about the capture, integrate, and automate. And as you look at some of the areas that we addressed, again, it's any department and any document, but certainly payables automation, expense management, forms automation. But what we're going to take a look at today is the ability for a 360-degree view in what we call a case, and several of them that Sean's going to demonstrate, that really can apply in any industry. We have many customers in construction and healthcare, manufacturing, supply chain, again, sports and entertainment. If you can relate to some of those challenges, then then this demonstration will certainly bring to life for you how you can really view things at the end of the year as you prepare for audit, as you need to work with other departments in your business to say, hey, if we could show you a way that would give you this, 100% visibility into the process and be able to find any document whenever you need to, there's certainly value in that. So, Sean, if you want to bring up your demo environment and take it away.
Okay, thanks, Mary. Appreciate it. You're seeing it now, Mary, just to confirm? My
Yep.
system's
Looks
up?
great.
Okay, great.
We're looking at Kiki. Mm-hmm.
Good deal, good deal. Well, hi, everybody. This is the aforementioned, at least a few times, Sean Fitzgerald. So thanks, Mary, for leading us to this point. And we're going to dive into the system now. And, KwikTag, and I think Mary mentioned this at the top, has been working with Turnkey for a long time, many years. So the chances are, I realize that some of you on the call may have been on a call like this before, or may have been with me on site when I did one of the events for Turnkey in person, but I've been working with them for many years. So it's glad to be with you again. We're going to go through, obviously I'm going to have about, Mary, I got about 15 minutes here to go through some things. So I'm going to be touching, of course, high level on them, and want to keep with the theme of year end and things like that. So, but I'm starting in GP. Now, just quickly, I know a lot of you on the call are with GP. We have, I think, some with AX. But and KwikTag works in both those systems, and of course, I think as Mary mentioned, works in SL and NAV too. But for purposes of a demo, I needed to kind of pick an ERP, so I went with GP. So what I'm starting here in GP, and what I wanted to touch on is focus on capture. What do I mean by that? Well, uploading documents, right? So that's kind of how people have thought of KwikTag forever. Oh, that's the solution that lets me upload documents, and we do that. So that's capturing documents. But what's really exciting in the last few years that we've brought to the table is most of you, I think, or if you've heard about us, are familiar with, and that's workflow. So the business process automation, right? Improving your business processes, like Mary just talked about. And then the third solution, if I had to lump these things, if I had to dumb KwikTag down to kind of three main things, the third one would be case management. So I'm going to walk you through those three items here quickly today. So capture, workflow, and case management. And we're going to touch mostly on case management because in a lot of these calls over time we've done the first two already, and case management's a little newer for us, so we want to share what's new. But just kind of go back to our heritage, back to the beginning, if you will, and look at capture and how we do that. For any of you that haven't seen KwikTag, it's really very simple to upload a document to a transaction or a screen or inside your ERP. And I'm going to keep talking about GP. You know, we're at 79 different screens in GP. So any of those screens, if you want to upload a document, you just go additional, you hit the tag button off the additional menu like I just did, and let's say you have, I don't know, let's say we have a PO, right? I can browse out, grab it, go get the PO. There it is right here, wherever I navigate to, double click, and it says we're going to attach it here, and now the PO is attached. That's simple. If it's a piece of paper, you make a reservation, scan it in. We can tell you about that on your own demo, but that's a really easy process too. So it's that simple to upload documents, and then you can view documents right from inside of GP as well, okay? So you can see we have invoices, sales orders, an email that we brought in. You can drag and drop documents into this. That's really easy. It's really very, very simple to upload documents, and then of course view them right from inside of GP. So this is kind of KwikTag 101. We've been doing this for 19 years, right? This is again where we got our start, actually about 14 years here with GP. But this is just kind of the basics. So easy to upload, easy to view documents. At the end of the year, you know, auditors come in, something happens, and you're looking for documents. It's going to be really easy to find them, okay? So that's just kind of the basics, the simple uploading of documents into KwikTag. Now, that's capture. Let's talk about workflow. Okay, so here I am now in the actual KwikTag product, of course, and I'm in a work queue. You can see along the top ribbon here, we have drawers, work queue, which I have highlighted there in black, approval central, cases, and so on. So I'm in my work queue. What's a work queue? I think we probably all know what that means, right? It's just the holding place where the document is when it's in a workflow process. So it's in the approval process, whether it be step 1, 2, 3, and so on, right? It's going to always be in somebody's work queue until it's, you know, completed and pushed into the ERP solution. So here we are in step 1. An invoice and a work queue, right? And if you remember KwikTag or know us well enough, you know that it's pretty easy to come in here and kick off a workflow process. I'm doing this through some pretty easy point and clicks, right? You can see some integrations right to GP already. This is pulling all information from GP. Even though I'm doing it through point and click and a little bit of cut and paste right here, we also have a version of KwikTag, I shouldn't say a version, but we have a solution in KwikTag that allows you to have the system do all of this for you, to pull the information right off of the document so you don't even have to, okay? But, you know, and so you don't have to do almost any typing. You would pull all the data off, do the data entry. The only thing you would have to do is enter the GLs, which I'm doing right now. And again, I'm keeping this high level. I'm not going into much explanation there. Just want you to, for those of you that haven't seen this before, get a quick look at it. And all of this is with the caveat that, hey, if you want more detailed information, let us know and we'll do a customized demo, okay? But the invoice comes in, I put some information in about it, as I said, or the system does, and I quickly hit submit and it sends it off on its happy workflow path, right? Which the system has the automated rules built in and sends it where it needs to go. You can self-direct that if you want and tell it where to go. There's lots of different ways to create workflows. Now mine happens to be an invoice, of course, right? But we also do expense management as well, in case you didn't know that. So for your employee expenses, okay? And whoops, just a minute. Best laid plans, Mary. All right.
Never fails. That's
well,
always
you know what
the
it
challenge
is?
with doing real-time demos.
Yeah, I think I have a corrupt image there on that one. That's happened one other time before. I need to quit using that document.
That's unacceptable.
Word. There we go. We'll come back in. So what you were about to see there was a receipt that I had taken a picture of, right? We use this internally, as you would expect. And so you can do it for receipt management as well, okay? So here's another one. So as an end user, you can, you know, snap a picture of your receipt, email it into your KwikTag work queue. You can pile up your receipts over time, right, over the course of the month, I assume. And then when you're ready, you can come in here, and just like you saw me code an invoice a second ago, you can come in here and code a receipt, right? And as much or as little information as you want to put into it, but you can come in here, code the receipt. When I'm done coding my receipts, I run a report, and it kicks off a report for approval. So the invoice goes to the managers, or whoever the approvers are. My expense report is going to go to my boss, obviously, right? My manager for his or her approval. So we can do individual expenses and also vendor invoices, okay? And then those go into an approval queue. I just clicked over. If you blinked, you missed it, but I'm in a different instance of KwikTag now. Now I'm in an approval queue. So I can come right here and either approve or reject this invoice as need be. If I am looking for that expense report, I can approve, or, and let me open that for you. I can approve or reject that expense report, okay? And if I want to do it at the header level, I can. If I want to approve or reject at the individual receipt level, now because now we're talking about expenses, right? I can come in here and actually approve or reject individual receipts out of a expense report. So, kind of similar, right? It's just, is it a vendor invoice? Is it an expense receipt or expense report? But they come in, you put some information in about them, and then you send them off for approval. Both of these documents will then be pushed into GP. If it's an invoice, we create, the vendor invoice, the voucher for inside of GP, obviously, and payable to Advanced Office Systems. If it's an expense report, a lot of times, most of the time with GP at least, people put their employees in as vendors, so it's payable to Sean Fitzgerald, that type of thing. Or if it's my corporate card, it's payable to American Express. So they all kind of work the same, but it's just about getting the document in, getting the data compiled, and moving it through approval. Now, that was all done in KwikTag, but of course we have email approvals as well, right? So you can open up and do the approval right here via email as well. So the email approvals will come to individuals. They'll get the document attached. They'll have all the information they need to make the decision, and then they can either click a link, or they can, this one's set up as a mobile approval, so this actually works from my phone. I just click reply, type in the word approved, and I hit send, and it'll read it right from my phone. So I can do that as well, okay? Okay, so that's kind of, that's workflow in a nutshell. I mean, and we can create a workflow process for any document, any process. I showed you the two most common ones that people ask us about, which are expenses, whether they be personal expense, employee expenses, or vendor invoices. But you have a document that needs to be routed for review and or approval internally. We can create a workflow for it. Customize, of course, configure to how it needs to flow inside of your organization, okay? Capture and workflow. Again, if you've hung around us at any time over the last year or two, you're kind of familiar with those two solutions. But let's jump into something that maybe you haven't seen yet, and speaks a little bit more directly to what Mary was talking about today. I want to show you cases, okay? And so I'm going to click over here on My Cases across the top the top ribbon here in KwikTag, and we'll come to our cases. I'm going to have all these different kinds of cases open up. I'm going to go to, let's go to current employee file. You'll see we just have 4 of them right here, okay? I'll click on, in fact, let's say we had a huge company with, hundreds of people. I'll look for Luke's there. It filters right to Luke's case. I click on that. It opens it up for me. And what the heck is a case? A case is a collection of documents, okay, that are separate and unique, documents, yet they are all related by something, at least one common denominator. What I'm showing you right now is for HR. As you can see in the top left-hand corner, it says type, current employee file. So this is an employee file case. I filtered through all my employees to the Luke Dietering, who I was looking for. It opened up his case. This is Luke's HR file, okay? Now, I'm showing you case management. I want you to see the technology. Whether or not you're in HR or not, doesn't matter. My guess is your company probably has employees, so you may need this functionality. But even if you don't, even if HR is already doing something, they have an HR, MIS system already on that you're using, fine. I want you to understand the technology here because it has use across your whole organization. Okay, any place that, I mean, HR is the easy one, but this can be used everywhere, okay? So again, we have this case here developed for an employee file. So in the top right here, you'll see it says master document, application for employment. That's the first document in Luke's case. When I put the application for employment into KwikTag, it opened up and created this case. And then every document I put in here for Luke, I put in his medical and dental enrollment document, right? And when I put that in there, I index the document real simply, first name, last name, and his employee ID, which is the magic common denominator, okay? And so for any subsequent document that goes into the system, whatever drawer it's in, if it's got Luke's employee ID in there, it is going to also be put into his case. Okay, so I kind of started with the end of the story. Let's go build one. Let's go build a case real quick and simple. We'll build one just like this, so you can see really how easy this is to do for whatever your process may be. Okay, so I'm going to come in here to my drawers, and I'm going to look for human resources. I have my application for employment. These little things on the left-hand side, by the way, if you don't know already, these are drawers. A drawer is what we give the repository, it's what we call the repository in KwikTag, where a document lives. It's always in a drawer. It's in a drawer somewhere. These are application for employments, and usually people, you can create your own drawers. That's the beauty of this. So if you're a GP company, we connect to 79 drawers in 79 screens in GP. Those all automatically get created for you as drawers in KwikTag, so that when you save an invoice in KwikTag, it lives in the invoice drawer, you know, over in when you save it in GP, it lives over in the invoice drawer in KwikTag. But you can also build your own drawers for any need. Again, that enterprise-wide solution that we want you to remember that KwikTag is, right? Beyond just GP, I can create my own drawers for other business processes, other business needs, okay? So let's say you're not even using HR in GP. That's fine. But you want to, but you got a handful, you know, you got 122 employees, and you're still paper-based, right? You got a filing cabinet in, or a few filing cabinets in HR, and you want to go paperless. Here you go. Now, you know, you can buy KwikTag for vendor invoices, buy an end-user license for the folks in HR for, you know, about $300, 1, 2, 3 of those, and now you're using KwikTag over in HR, okay? Or pick the name of your department where you want to expand the use of KwikTag to. You're going to have most of this functionality that I'm about to show you automatically with a basic purchase of KwikTag, okay? So back to what I wanted to show you. Application for employment. This is a drawer. It needs an application for employment in there, so let's load one up. I'm going to right-click. I'm going to hit Tag. Tag is how we refer to uploading documents. I'm going to tag it, okay? And I'm going to put a few documents in for myself, for Sean Fitzgerald. Now, the way we've built this is that I don't want to enter Sean Fitzgerald's first name, last name, employee ID every time I put something in for him, right? So it feels kind of weird talking about yourself in third person, but bear with me. So I don't want to enter that in every single time, right? So we found a way to automate that too. We'll just put his information in a pick list, double-click on Sean Fitzgerald right there from the pick list, and there we go. Employee ID, first name, last name, status of active, and anything else we wanted to include, we could have right here. We've kept it real simple with just a few fields of information. Okay, so where is my application for employment? I'm going to click Upload. I'm going to browse out. I happen to have this already scanned in, right? So I browse out. There it is right there. Double-click, right? It uploads it to that drawer. I'll hit Submit. I have now created the record for Sean Fitzgerald with the document attached, okay? Now, in our little scenario here, remember, application for employment is the master document in the case. So a case was just created for Sean Fitzgerald. It has one document in it, okay? It has the application for employment. We can go over and look at that, and we will. Once we finish this case, we'll go over and look at that. Now it takes about 30 to 60 seconds, and that won't say no image available anymore. There'll be a document in there, okay? So boom, we got document number 1 in there. I'm going to put 3 documents total, so pretty quick. Kind of just repeat the process, right? I'm going to hit Tag. What kind of benefit information document? You might have multiple types in this drawer. I'm just going to go medical and dental enrollment. Again, Sean Fitzgerald. Double-click, puts it all in. I have this one electronically too. Browse out. There it is, benefits enrollment. Put that right in, okay? And hit Submit. All right, now I got 2 documents in my case. Now, the reason this is cool is because if I need to come into the benefit information drawer, right, and I'm trying to figure out, okay, wait a minute, some kind of filing deadline, right? I need to know, do we have the medical and dental enrollment forms for everybody? I come in here, I sort by medical dental enrollment, and I can, do a quick check and see how many we have, or I can export this file and get the information that I need. Okay, so it's great to have all documents of the same type in the same drawer, right? But the other way to spin that view is to, hey, show me to Sean's documents. So that's why cases are great. Okay, so let's do one more document. We'll do personnel finance. I'm not doing disciplinary actions because I don't want to get in trouble. So we'll upload. We'll go to our W-4, and then we'll do Sean again. Double click.
And Sean, while you're doing that, if I could just interject for a second, that one of the questions that we get asked when we're demoing this sort of functionality is that those fields on the left and the types of documents and the ways that they're organized and all the different options, all of that is customizable, correct? Perhaps you can share with our attendees today just that feature.
Great reminder, Mary. Thank you. Yeah. So all of this is customizable, right? We're going to build it however you tell us to. So I'm missing a field though. Look at that. What did I do? Oh, I didn't do file type. W4. See? So yeah, as many fields of information that you wanted to put in here, I kept it short and sweet and simple with just like 4 pieces of information. You could, have this as complex as you want to, as many fields of information, make them required or not. The drawer types are all completely up to you, however you want to build them. So again, you're building this out to be as customized as you need it to, for sure. So now let's jump over into cases. We had 4 cases previously. Company's grown. We've hired somebody new, that nifty Sean Fitzgerald guy. So go in here, and there you go. There's my case. So I have the new case created for Sean Fitzgerald. I expand that, and we will open this document right here, and we'll see my application is right there. We have my W-4 that's right in there, and then my medical and dental enrollment form. Okay. So again, I can see all those in their individual drawers if I want, but now they've been pulled together as a case. And again, over time, case drawers get pretty big. You want to be able to filter right to the one. So it's really easy to navigate quickly and find it. Okay. Very, very simple. So people use this for projects. It's a common thing that people do. Construction companies love this, because a project opens up and that manila file folder that gets passed around the office or taken in guys' front seat of their pickup truck or something, it gets lugged all around, and all these documents and things grow and come and go. Man, if we can digitize something like that and make it all clean and easy to find and put it all in the same place, people love that. People use this for a lot of times for sales orders too, right? You get you get the order that comes in from the customer. You get some sales order that's kicked out by the ERP system. Maybe you get a picking ticket there. We have a lumber company that loads up trucks and takes these things out of their yard, and so there's this weighing ticket that's all involved, and just then you got invoices and POs. Things just you take the document trail as far as you want to, but all those things have a common denominator. We pull them together into cases. Lease agreements is another one that people ask us. Oop, I got out of cases. Clicked on the wrong thing there, Mary. So let's see here. Yeah, lease agreements is another one. I mean, it can just be built really. I mean, you think about it. You think about what you need, how you want to build this out, and KwikTag we can configure it for you and build it right out to whatever you may need. Okay. So the last thing I want to show you too is one of the other solutions that we have, which is great, is for checks. So we looked at approvals here. Watch this. We can create an approval for you for checks. Okay, an approval, and this works on both ends of the process. Here, what I mean is, this is front end of the solution. So here is a check report pulled from GP. We integrate it up into KwikTag, and then we present you an approval process where you can come here and approve either the check batch or the individual checks. Okay, so if you look here, we'll see fields of information here: international telephone, check number 89377 for $14.85. So there's the check, right? Well, that's fine, but what I want to see is I want to see the invoice that it's paying. That's what I'm interested in, right? So if I want to see the invoice before I give my approval, we can pull the invoice as it's related to the check. And then if you're wondering, hey, how did this get approved? Who was it that approved that invoice? We can give you an audit trail for that as well, a time and date stamp of who did what and when, and who approved that. So that's great too. Now that's front end approval of checks, right? But what about on the back end? Okay, what do I mean by that? Well, what about when that auditor, it's February 18th and nice, beautiful, brisk, cold day in St. Louis, if that's where a lot of you are from. I know that's where Turnkey is. The auditor's there, and they shinny up next to you, and they say, hey, I got this list of 22 checks, right? 25 checks that I've randomly selected, and I'd like you to show me the checks. Who paid them? Who approved them? Where did they go, right? Well, you can come right here into KwikTag, come into, as you see on the left-hand side, as I just did, I went into my check drawer, right? And come right here, and it's kind of really similar view that I just showed you, but I'm going to come into this check, and I'm going to show my workflow history. And hold on, what I really wanted to see was I want to see that. I wanted to see associated documents. So I want to see show my associations. There we go. I'm having a little bit hard time with my new eyes. Okay, so there we go. So now I can see the associated documents. Well, what's associated to this check? Well, remember that invoice that we saw? There's another way to see it, and this is where I expand the workflow history, okay? So now I can come in and show that auditor and say, yeah, here's the invoice, here's the check, here's the invoice it paid, here's who approved it and when. Next, here's the GLs that it was set to, right? Down here, here's what it was, payable to. What's the next one, right? And in fact, if you, can't find them in KwikTag too, if you're not sure where they are, you can always search for them. Just come in here to KwikTag and do a global search. So that was check number 089377, Mr. Auditor. I can come in here and just do a random global search, right? And come in here and get to the very same thing, okay? So just the ability to be able to find those documents really quick and easy, right? To have, the front end, simplified approval process, and then a back end audit trail helps you on both sides of the process and the equation, okay? So obviously something with year end in mind and looking forward to that, this can help greatly, okay? So lots more to go in. Obviously, kind of a fire hose type of thing, as it always is with these kind of webinars, a lot in a little time space, but that's some of the highlights I wanted to show you. And with that, Mary, I will kick it back to you, and there you go, Mary. I just made you the presenter. Okay.
Excellent, excellent. Thanks for that. Thanks for that demonstration, Sean, and hopefully those of you who are participating on the phone and online got some, tidbits of information and thoughts of ways that you can apply the depth of what Sean just demonstrated in all of those other areas that we talked about. So, we talked about accounting, and we talked about HR specifically in those examples. We took a quick look at lease agreements, but they could be contracts of any kind. We talked about sales orders. Think of the visibility that you would now have with just a couple of clicks. And that audit trail, by the way, that workflow history can be applied to anything. The example that I'm showing you in a couple of screenshots, and these aren't just screenshots because Sean did a much better job in walking you through the product in real time so that you could see these things come to life. But if this was a workflow on this particular job description even, you would see the workflow history of that. You could see that an interview was set and that somebody moved forward in the hiring process. You could see all of these related documents, and sometimes I throw these couple of screenshots in here not because you didn't see the product in a very detailed way, but if you need to share this information with other people throughout your organization, sometimes they need a little bit of, what does it look like, what does it feel like, how is it going to work for me, and they need that sort of tactile or visual representation of that. So feel free to share those things with others in your organization as you build that business case. So then, let's think about what this means for us, and not just year end, but throughout the year. Our productivity is increased. We're not searching around the office for documents. We're not going through, 150 file cabinets, file folders in all these file cabinets to find a specific employee file. You can click, one click away kind of thing. Everything that's been pre-approved, whether on the accounting side or other areas of the business that funnel into accounting at year end. You have quick visibility. And oh, by the way, back to that comparison of the manual invoice process, just as one example of, building your business case, that $40.70 doing it manually can be reduced to less than $5 when you automate it with a process such as this. So keep those things in mind. So again, the areas that you can really gain control over and need to have audit and compliance, regulations and internal controls around, and visibility into human resources, payroll, contracts, sales orders, and of course accounting. So we can get out of the, it's year end and time to panic, to the, keep calm and not worry so much about the audits. And to be honest, of course I use that in jest, but to be honest, we have customers who say that they breeze through their audits when they can do what Sean just demonstrated. You've got a list of 20, 30, 50 checks, we don't care. You've got a list of, 20, 30, 50 employee numbers that you need to look up, we don't care. It's literally quick search and one click away, and you can access all of those documents, their audit trail, and any backup documentation that's related to them. A few resources here for you in case you're, the inquisitive type and want to look in a little bit more into, some case studies and some industry research and to learn more about our solutions, and certainly find some additional information there. We hope that you'll be able to reach out directly to Turnkey and or, Sean for any additional questions, and hopefully you'll go back and talk about this internally and say, hey, let's see what that would look like in our environment.